Thanks for tuning into the Trifecta Sports Podcast. We're live today again, like always, on YouTube and Facebook. We have Dave and Coop here, as always. I'm your host, Frank. We got a couple things to talk about today, mainly, NFL football is wrapping its season up here in the next few weeks with the playoffs. Super exciting time, especially if you're a fan of a team in the playoffs. So if your team is still in the playoffs like mine, humble brag. We appreciate it. Really good game that last week with the Bengals and the Ravens. They were. I knew something like this was going to happen, considering the fact that they beat them so handily the week before, and then Tyler Huntley played a really good game. Defensively, the Ravens played a really good game. A couple big plays here and there was the difference. So, from a young man sitting in his living room watching the game and watching a fellow large athlete like myself score a touchdown from a long way away. That was a big turning point in the game. Ultimately ended up winning the game for us. So I was pretty excited to see that. But big thing on the topic today would be, as you can see in the title, it says greatest of all time, right? So I don't think it's an argument that Tom Brady, whether he plays another year, whether he hangs it up, I just don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he's the greatest quarterback of all time, and he's one of the only people, other than maybe Wayne Gretzky, that there's no debate, right? Even in basketball, there's debates. It's LeBron, Kobe, Jordan. Like those are the three. And in hockey, it's Wayne Gretzky, and in football, it's Tom Brady. Baseball, you got Babe Ruth. People say he's the greatest of all time, but I think the greatest of all time is currently playing, in my opinion, and Mike Trout. That's just my opinion. But here we are. We're going to talk about Tom Brady for a minute. First thing I want to ask you guys, as Dave drops his microphone, do you think he plays again elsewhere after this season, or do you think he's going to be in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform next year?
I think he plays. I don't think it's Tampa. I don't know where. I don't have that insight. Miami seems doubtful after the way, the tampering came down and they lost draft picks and all of that. I've heard Vegas thrown around, but I would, just because he's tied to McDaniels, they've got the star receiver. I think he plays. I don't see it in Tampa. But the dude threw 66 passes in this last playoff game. Like, he can still throw it. He's still got quarterback years in front of him.
Oh, he's still better than 3/4 of the league. I don't think there's a doubt about that. I think the question about where he plays comes down to the Tampa Bay coaching staff. You could say this year was a fluke. He didn't have an offensive line most of the year. Mike Evans, other than the last game of the year, completely lost all use of his fingers. I don't know how many touchdowns he ended up dropping there. But I watched the Manning cast last night, and they were just ripping them. They were ripping the Bucs because they knew by halfway through the first quarter that they completely abandoned the running game. And then in a playoff game, you need to establish some sort of a run, especially when your offensive line is that beat up and you're playing against that good of a front with the Dallas Cowboys. So that's where I think the whole coaching staff, Todd Bowles ain't it. He's done it before. Led him to 8-9. He has some excuses he could use, but I don't think Tom Brady's going to play for Todd Bowles again.
I agree 100% on the play call, and that was the 22nd ranked rush defense. Yes, Micah Parsons is an outstanding off-ball linebacker and pass rusher. He's not a run stopper. That's not what he does.
Yeah,
that was the weakness of Dallas, and they did not. I think 13 carries for the entire game, and Rashad White had a higher yards per carry than Brady did yards per attempt. Just put the ball on the ground, take a little bit off of him.
Yeah, and I know you're playing from behind early and often, but the Cowboys weren't blowing the lights out of the scoreboard or anything like that. They were missing extra points. A lot of them. And they struggled, here and there, but you can't just give them the ball right back series after series after series. and that's just going to take a toll on your defense, and a defense that's supposedly really good enough, I should say. They haven't been great this year, but they're good enough to win you a playoff game, even though if it's Dallas, one of the top tier offenses in the league right now. But that just wasn't it. Nobody gave them a chance, and I understand why. So it's cool. So
well, I mean, their offense didn't give their defense a chance. Their defense didn't give their offense a chance. I mean, it was just like it was the representation of a team from the best conference or the best division playing against a team against the worst division. It was a blowout.
Yeah, I mean,
how about Dak? Can we talk about Mr. Yeah. You guys don't think he's good? And I told you he can be that guy, and he was.
He was yesterday. I'll give him that. He, I think I heard a stat this morning, something along the lines of it's the greatest QBR of any Cowboys quarterback in modern playoff history. I think completion percentage for a game, I think he was second all time after yesterday's game. Something stupid. I mean, that's what he's gonna have to do every game to win a Super Bowl. I probably on record on this podcast, later on, like early on our YouTube channel history. First of all, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, what are you doing? Why are you still there? Head on over to YouTube if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. It's not that hard. Just click the button. We're on our way to 100. I've been working at this for almost a calendar year, trying to get to 100 subscribers. That's like, what, 2 subscribers a week, maybe? A little bit less, a little bit more. So
that's pretty good.
Help us out, fellas.
A couple months to go.
Yeah. We'll get there. It just takes a minute. But with Dak, he has to do that all the time in order to win, especially getting, I don't think if Dak played in the AFC that this kind of thing would happen. I think the NFC is way weak compared to the AFC in terms of playoff teams. That's just my opinion. I think the AFC is top heavy. There's 5 teams that can come out of the AFC and make the Super Bowl, and nobody would really be surprised. For the NFC, in my opinion, it's Eagles, 49ers. I don't think Cowboys make it. That's just my opinion.
I don't think they make it. I think they're totally capable of it.
Everybody's capable. I think the Jaguars could be capable of it. Any team can beat any team on any given day. You just got to string some wins together. But in terms of overall, to pick a Super Bowl winner, more than likely it's coming out of the AFC.
See, I kind of disagree just based off what we saw this past weekend. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, who have a horrendous defense, their defense put up like 20 fantasy points against the Bills. I mean, they had like 7 sacks, couple fumbles, couple interceptions, and a touchdown.
And lost.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's the biggest stat.
The Bills offense won the game. But when you start talking about the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys, I mean, those are the top 5 defenses in the league. That the AFC, I mean, the Bengals have a good defense. The Ravens had a good defense. But, I mean, I'm not scared of the Bills defense. I'm not scared of the Chiefs defense. And those are like the heavy hitters. I'm not scared of the Jaguars defense. So, I think the betting favorite will definitely be out of the AFC. No questions asked. But if I'm a betting man, which I lose a lot, I'm going to bet on the 49ers or the Eagles or the Cowboys. Because
you make a lot of sense there. That brings up another point that I could make, and I'm all in on the AFC winning the Super Bowl, whoever it is. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that can win it. But you also can look at it as a sense of being in such a tough conference is going to hurt you later on in the playoffs, considering the fact that it's hard-nosed balls to the wall every single week. There is no off week where you can not really have to worry about every single play mattering. That happens sometimes in the playoffs when, especially in the wild card games. It doesn't really happen. There was only one blowout game, and that was the 49ers game. Every other game was close.
Well, there was 2. And Brandon Staley he messed that up.
He screwed that up. Go Jags. Jaguars got two Kentucky guys on their team. So I would love to see the Jaguars make it pretty far, just because they never. It's good to see teams like that, kind of like the Bengals run last year. Nobody really expected it. The Jaguars, are they built like the Bengals? No, but they're well on their way of being a consistent playoff team with that organization moving forward. I can see the Jaguars being in the Super Bowl in the next 2 years.
I don't know.
With what they've got.
I would say that the Jaguars are very similarly built to the Bengals. I mean, you got a 1-1 quarterback. You have a well-known running back out of college. The receiving core, you put Calvin Ridley in there.
That's what I'm saying. Next couple of years,
they don't have a Jamar Chase right now, but that receiving core is pretty
solid.
Dang good. I mean, Zay Jones came on this year.
Yeah.
And they're getting more out of Evan Ingram than anybody Cincinnati got.
That's big.
At tight end. He's kind of filling that Tyler Boyd, that third receiver role.
Yeah, he's a glorified receiver. That he plays in the slot more than he does on the line.
Yeah. Talking about your no bye weeks in the playoffs, what about the scheduling disadvantage that the Cowboys are facing?
That's absolutely
incredible. Huge deal. San Francisco is getting a 7-day break between home games. Dallas is traveling on a 5-day break. So not only do they have 2 days less of rest and preparation, they have to add a trip from Dallas to San Francisco in there. Not the biggest trip in the world.
Tampa. I mean, they're going from Tampa Bay to Dallas to San Francisco. They're going coast to coast.
Yeah.
Get a better seed. Sorry, bro.
NFL's got to do something about. There's got to be. You have to value parity over seeding at that point. You got to make that schedule out better.
Yeah, which is crazy to me though, because I would think the 49ers and the Cowboys, they probably have two of the largest fan bases in the entire league. Mm-hmm. Why not make that just the Sunday night game? Oh, 49ers played Saturday.
I feel like it should be.
Make them play Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that there are other, top tier premier games, but, it's a West Coast game. People are going to want to watch it at nighttime. Those kind of games like that is something you want to stay up and watch. You don't want a Sunday night like the Monday night game sucked, man. It wasn't interesting. I turned it off. I stopped watching it. Didn't hold my attention, but like all the other games, like on Sunday, like that held my attention. Even the Saturday games, like I woke up, I went to a conference in Louisville this weekend. My car got broken into. It's another story we'll talk about later. It's funny. Yeah, good times.
Funny.
Yeah, it's a thing. But anyway, yeah. So I came back. I was not in the greatest mood, obviously. So I got to just chill at my house, watch football the rest of the day, relax. It was fun. I liked it. It got my mind off things. But Monday's game sucked, dude. You got to think about that. Do they have those games like pre-positioned before who the matchups are made, or do they decide that later on?
Well, I think the matchup is super intriguing, though. I mean, the title of our show is the greatest of all time. We literally had the greatest of all time playing against America's team. Like, if you want eyeballs, ESPN got eyeballs. It didn't.
It was a snooze fest, though.
Yeah, it didn't amount to much, but that game was picked for the Monday night for a reason.
I can see that.
Monday night that's the biggest football night, right? That's what they feature. And anytime the Cowboys are an option, they're going to be there because, like Dave said, they are the biggest fan base in football.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm going to tell the story about how my car got broken into over the weekend. So we have a coaches conference in Louisville every year. We go there and we hang out with other coaches from around the state. And we stay at a hotel. It's technically in Jeffersontown, which is, right next to Louisville. It's technically Louisville. The address of the hotel is Louisville, Kentucky. And we went out to eat. I drove my car. I have a Dodge Challenger. And made it back to the hotel about 9:30. Went inside. And then I came back out the next morning. I was going to eat breakfast, so I was going to take my stuff to my car and come back in and eat breakfast, watch a couple more of the presenters, and then head home, right? I'm 2 hours away. So I went out to my car, unlocked it. I'm 6 cars away from the door. 6 cars. I counted them. So I opened the front door to put my backpack in the back seat, and I look, and there's glass everywhere on the inside of my car. And I look out my passenger door, and the freaking passenger windshield is like caved in. There's no window there. There's like a little piece hanging on the outside, but there's no window there. Somebody broke into my car. So I'm looking at my car, and my glasses are in the floorboard. My center console is just kind of ravaged through. Nothing was taken, you know. Luckily, I didn't have anything in there because I cleaned it out the day before. My laptop was in my backpack in the room, and I didn't know what to do at that point. So I was like, left my backpack in there, shut the door, went back inside, and I was with Coach Varney and one of my assistants, and they were like, I was like, fellas, my car got broken into. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, my window's busted open. I took pictures of it and everything. And they're like, oh my God. So needless to say, the hotel helped me out. I taped up the window as best I could. It was like 30 degrees. It snowed in Louisville the whole time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was outside picking up glass off the pavement out of my car. I sliced my finger open. I was bleeding everywhere because it was cold. There's like blood dripping down the side of my car while I'm taping the plastic to it. And I had to drive home from Louisville. It's an hour and 45 minutes at least with no window and at like 30 degrees outside. But yeah, it's a good time. I'm getting it fixed on Thursday.
Wow.
Insurance is paying for it. We're good.
So where's the funny part of that, Frank? That just sounds
It's
like
not
sucks.
funny, but like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you can get mad all you want. It ain't gonna change the fact that you don't have a window, and there's no one there. The cops can't do anything because nobody stole anything. What are they gonna do? Come, hey, sorry. That's what they'll do. Hey, I'm sorry. I made a police report just in case the insurance needed it, and then all of a sudden, came home. I'm over at that point. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's something like that. You just can't let it get you down, or you get pissed off the whole time. But
I'd be pissed off for a month.
I mean, I'm not happy about it, but like, on the other hand, it's like, it is what it is, man. Somebody wanted it more than I did. So if you're willing to bust a window out for literally nothing. They didn't I had change in I had change in the center console. Not a dime was taken out of it.
Well, yeah, I'm not busting windows for dimes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking for something. I mean, I don't know what it is. But
well, yeah, they saw the Dodge Challenger. Like, all right, something's in there.
But there's 55 other cars in the parking lot that are all nice.
Wasn't a Challenger though.
I'm parked beside a Yukon. I'm parked next to Dodge, Ram pickup trucks with wheels and tires on it. I was the only car in the parking lot. The only car. It's good.
That's rough. I
was driving home and Coach Varney calls me and goes, "Hey, on a scale of 0 to 10, how cold are you right now?" I was like, it ain't that bad, honestly. I was scared to turn the heater on because I have vents right out beside my door. I afraid I would melt the plastic. And then it was real big shit out of luck.
I'm
I ain't driving 30 degrees.
I had the heat on my feet. The heat on my feet was fine. But the sun was out. It was okay. It wasn't that cold. Hey, Weaver, we try not to talk about UK basketball too much on here. But I've got it pulled up on my computer down here. Well, the game cast at least. And if you listen closely, if I try to mute my mic when I'm not talking, you can hear my family in the room screaming and yelling at the TV. And so if you're listening, you know who they are. You know that they're not quiet. Yeah. So we can talk about Cats for a minute. A huge game against Tennessee. Beat them in all facets of the game. Looked like one of the better teams in the country that I've seen. We muddied the game up for them. I feel like that's how we won it. Very low scoring. More of a defensive possession type game, which could be the game we need to play most often. And right now, according to what I'm looking at, the score is, pretty much some of the same. Like, we're not scoring 30 points and a half. That could be a problem. But I don't know, man. If you're out there watching, what's the problem going on with UK basketball in general, but also college basketball in general? The Cats aren't the only team struggling. The Cats aren't the only team struggling.
Well, yeah, you can only have 25 ranked at a time. I mean, you're going to have the rest of them struggling, right?
But, I mean, you got some powers struggling.
Yeah, but it's basketball. I mean, it changes. I mean, there's like 8 seasons in a college basketball season. Like November doesn't matter just as much as January doesn't matter. It's all about March.
Well, you got to get to the stupid tournament.
Not if you win your tournament. I mean, look
That's
at
true.
St. Peter's. Nobody, I don't know if anybody knew of a St. Peter's University or college, whatever they are, last year.
Still don't know where they're at.
Yeah, exactly. And they made it to
New
the Elite
Jersey,
Eight,
right?
somewhere like that, or New York.
You know, that'd be a great college to throw in like St. Petersburg, Florida.
I mean, that's where I thought they were from.
Oh,
But yeah,
I don't think college basketball's in a bad state. I think it's the same thing we've talked about with recruiting issues, the same thing we've talked about in the NBA. Talent is expanding. It's not centralized anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have the greatest player in a draft class. You don't have the best recruiting class. Like, it's just spread out so much. I don't know if we'll ever see an undefeated team in college again.
no, that's probably
Like,
that'll probably never happen. I don't think.
and I don't know if it's a lack of elite players as it is just everybody else catching up so they don't look elite anymore.
Yeah, you know, the talent isn't the same. But I would also argue, you know, the John Wall and Cousins and Davises, those don't come around anymore. But I also think, and you could probably disagree with me, but if you take the John Walls, the DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davises, put them in the game right now in college with the talent they had in college at the time, the dispersion between those guys has shrunk a little bit.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's evident. I mean, look, those two guys are pretty much. Well, I mean, Cousins isn't even on a team right now, to my knowledge, and John Wall was asked by the Rockets to not even play last year.
He's
I
having
mean,
a little career resurgence.
well, yeah, but
And
that's
Davis
what I'm
can't stay
just saying.
healthy.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is those kids, you know,
I'm taking their college versions of themselves, though. Like, you think about them, and you drop them on a UK team right now. The gap between them and everybody else on the UK team, the gap is big. But in the grand scheme of college basketball as a whole, there's not a huge gap between those guys. There's probably a gap. Don't get me wrong; those guys are once in a lifetime generational college players. But the
I
gap
disagree. I don't
it's
think they
smaller.
are.
Anthony Davis was a generational talent. He'd done things in college that nobody else did, and that says a
But
lot.
you still have records getting set every year. I don't think Armando Bacot is a generational talent, and he now holds the ACC record for double doubles in a season. Like, just because he put those numbers up and he did it 30 times in a year, there's no way in the world I would ever say Bacot is close to or could even be in the same conversation as Tim Duncan, and he just passed him up for a record.
And look at Oscar Shibwe, just did 15 and 15 last year. Anthony Davis didn't do that.
Right.
So I don't think it's not that kids are less talented. I think that everybody is just really good now. And you do have kids go to the NBA and make immediate impacts. Pablo Banchero was averaging like 23 as a rookie. I mean, it's insane. And he didn't look like that in college to me. I didn't think that's what he was going to be as a 16 point a game scorer at Duke.
And Weaver's right too. He's like the diamond. You look at the other teams, like, you know, there's teams like Murray State who have NBA players on it. There's teams like Western and Bellarmine and all those schools that have NBA players on it. We just don't know them yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that just goes to show you that, like, the talent gap, and we've said it multiple times again, you know, 1 through 50, they're pretty much all close together. Like, there's no major disparity. Now, there might be highlights that are different. There might be, you know, these mixtapes out there that are like, oh, this guy's so good and things like that. And some of them might pull away while they're in college. Some of them might stay 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But you put them all on the same floor in high school, there's not many of them that's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and everybody's going to be like, hey, he's the best. Now, it might work itself out later on, but right now, I mean, they all play against each other anyway. I mean, you look at Reed Shepard, who signed to play at Kentucky, has never left his high school to go play in a prep school, plays against those prep school kids in the summer and competes with them all the time. You know, you look at the team he's on in Kentucky, you know, in just a normal public high school with, you know, the same resources as most other schools, maybe less, and he's still competing with those kinds of players. Like he's a super talented player. Same goes for there's a Travis Perry out in Lyon County who's going to be the next big thing coming out of Kentucky. He's probably going to break the Kentucky all-time scoring record, held for what 55, 60 years. King Kelly Coleman.
Yes.
I don't even know how long ago it is, but he's probably going to break that. He's a junior right now, already over almost to 4,000 career points. Like that's a big deal. And had 45 against North Laurel and Reed Shepherd the other day, and Reed Shepherd had 32 and a triple double. They're playing against each other, doing those kinds of numbers. There's no disparity anymore. There's no gap.
But I think
everybody's good.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think the prep stuff is what's kind of like ruining it all.
I agree.
Like those kids,
people just make it. They make up schools. Like, hey, let's start a school. Come on.
Well, yeah, and like
we'll just have a basketball team. You ain't gotta go to class. We'll do online stuff.
Yeah, these kids are in 7th and 8th grade, and they get marked as the next thing, and then they go get recruited to these prep schools. So by 8th, 9th grade, they're already professional athletes. I mean, they're probably getting paid, or their parents are getting some sort of benefit. And I think that's what's kind of ruining it. Where like I think that's where Calipari, we said it last week, he has lost his ability to handle these players because he's used to having those rough guys. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, they weren't coming from the best places.
No.
And now he's got to deal with some prima donna kids, and he's got to, revert them back to, all right, I need you guys to go back to public high school in 9th grade and start running suicides without giving me any lip.
And these guys have handlers, and they have freaking, host families. I mean, they're moving across the country to play for people they don't even know by themselves.
The idea of systems in basketball is quickly going away at those high levels because no kids aren't in programs. They're there for years, right? They're there for a year at this prep academy. They transfer to this prep academy. They go to this whatever. They're in college for one season and then drafted. So the coaches that used to have success and the ones that still do have great success repetitively get kids that will come in and stay in a program. They get kids that came from a basketball system that played at least 2-3 years and understood an offense and developed in it. And the same thing defensively. You have to learn that too. So when you get these kids that are coming straight out of 3 years of high school at 3 different high schools just to try to get drafted next year, they're not going to have any investment in your system, in what you want to run. And that's why you're seeing Kentucky's the one I'm using as an example here. There's other schools that do it, but you're seeing these kids come in, and I've said it before, they're just showcasing individual talent. That's their goal. If they win the game too, that's great. But their job in their minds, I think, from the programs that they're coming from, is to just make themselves look as good as possible. Mm-hmm. And it works out for them. They're having a lot of success coming out of Kentucky under those, set of circumstances. But the Jay Wrights of the world, the Tom Izzos, they don't get as many of those. They turn Draymond Greens into NBA champions. They turn Jalen Brunsons into $30 million contracts. Mm-hmm. Like they take those guys, they develop them. Somebody we didn't know of when ESPN dropped their top 100 recruits.
Yep.
And it's getting harder and harder to do that.
That's why I'm so ready for the one and done to be back. Or the not the one and done, the high school draft.
Yeah,
like just get them out of college. I mean, we've already ruined amateur status. College basketball players no longer what it used to be. Yep. If we're gonna let a guy go flop in the NBA at 19, go let him do it at 18. Go let him make money, and let's bring back kind of like the sanctity of college basketball, because we have to wait around until March to see the real teams come out and play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I love college basketball just as much as the next guy, but there's nothing like watching March Madness, especially when it starts off during the day in your work at school or whatever. You're trying to tune into the games while you're going through your day. It's different. Like it's fun. The SEC tournament's always fun. But I think you're right. Whenever those rules go away, I think we're going to bring the joy back into college basketball without so much of the drama every year. You're going to have more teams that have consistent people on it instead of a whole new roster every year. The transfer portal is another thing. That's They got to get that shit figured out before it's. I don't know if they can. I think they're probably too far gone at this point. But the fact that there should be a one-time transfer rule. Period. If you're going to do it, and they're going to do it, I don't think you should
do that, man.
I think you should transfer if you want.
Nope.
Sit out a year. That's the rule, I think. But people are you have guys that transfer 4 times.
It's they're choosing, and they're student athletes, and you have to remember that. I know
No, they're
business
not.
but
they are not student athletes anymore.
In the sense that you can't restrict the employer they have or the school they go to. You can't put limits on it. You can put limits on eligibility.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, you're cheating. But I just think that's really, really hard to do.
They've been doing it for 100 years, and they just not changed it.
We've been doing a lot of stuff for 100 years. That's been changed, and it ain't going back. That's what I'm saying. Kind of in that movement of, empowerment and extended freedoms. I don't know how you let these kids do it and then take it away again. It's not going to work. It is what it is now.
Yeah. Weaver's got a really good question. Do you agree with the coach? He's referring to John Calipari. Getting kids to the NBA being more important than succeeding for the university that they are playing for. Thoughts? My ultimate thought on this is, I'm going to kind of step in the shoes of John Calipari for a minute. Do I necessarily think he is only getting these kids to the NBA in mind? No. How many NBA players does he have on his team right now? Legitimately, let's say NBA for 5+ years. I can think of 2. That's it. And I don't even think Sheboy's an NBA player. I'd say 1.
Yeah. I got 4. And Sheboy's not one of them.
I don't think Sheboy's an NBA player.
Nope.
He won't.
He's not.
He'll make a roster, but he'll be overseas in the next year and a half. I think Cason Wallace is an NBA player.
Livingston.
That's kind of what Livingston is going to be a G League guy, in my opinion. Unless he stays for a couple more years. He'll probably get drafted, but he's a G League guy.
Collins.
Yeah.
No, Collins.
If he can actually shoot like they were saying in the summer, he's a stretch 5. That he is prototypical NBA big man.
But is he going to be there for 5 years?
A couple of recent guys that came
there's
out.
One. I just think there's one guarantee. There might be other guys, like we're talking about these diamonds in the rough, and I agree that some of these guys probably could. Jacob Toppin might.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA works better for a guy like Jacob Toppin. The college doesn't have the 3 seconds in the lane. They don't have all that kind of stuff for defense. Reeves is probably another one. That's a good question. That's a good one too. But these guys are fringe NBA players. You can't forget. There's 2 rounds in the NBA draft. There's a what?
I don't think we understand how many people play in an NBA season now.
Well, it's different, and they sign contracts, but I'm talking like surefire, like a Jamal Murray, like a Tyler Hero. They're on a roster. They have secured a spot. I think it's 1. I really think it's 1 player on this team right now that is a surefire NBA player from day one, and he has a multi-year career where he's consistently on a roster, not fighting for a roster spot, not getting 10 days, not back and forth for a 2-way contract. It's 1, and it's Cason Wallace. That's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm putting myself in Calipari's shoes in specifics to this question. I think, yes, it's in the back of his mind that he wants to get these kids to the NBA, and that's how he recruits them. That's how we get the recruits. The next class coming in, that's how he got them. It's his reputation of getting those kids to the NBA. Once they're here, hell yeah, he wants to win for the school. He's not going out there and rolling the ball out just to get these guys looks. He's doing things to help them, for sure. But it's not going to be something that he's putting priority number 1. He wants to win, or he wouldn't be.
I don't think winning is number 1. I really don't.
Those kids want to win. They're miserable. Yeah. You look at them. Look after the win against Tennessee, how happy they were, and look at the loss against South Carolina, how pissed off they were. It matters to these guys. I don't know about the Wheeler thing. I don't know. There's people.
They look better
People have
without
an
him.
argument against Wheeler or four Wheeler. I just know we played good with him without him on the floor. I think there's a role for him. I just don't think it's playing 30+ minutes a game.
Yeah, he's a system player, and they don't have a system.
Yeah.
You're right about that. He was more successful at Georgia.
I think he legitimately could be like All-American upside if he was at a college where they had a system for him to run. But I don't think UK has that system.
We don't run plays.
So, yeah. On this, I don't agree with it. But I also see the sense of you got to play with the cards you're dealt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we know that. I don't know that Calipari could coach a different way. I think this is the way he has to compete. This is the only way he's going to be at this level. Is getting top recruits, making them look great going on. I don't want it for my program. I've said that before. Like, I've not liked Caleb Love since he got there. He came in with a one and done label. Like, he plays like that. He takes bad shots. He wants to be the hero of the entire game. And that's not what I like to see. I prefer to see a team who is focused on success, who will take the starting five out and put the next five in to send a message, because it's what's better for that team in the long run and the success of their season. So, no, I don't agree with it. And I've defended Calipari, I think, quite a bit on the show. Like,
I mean, I have too.
In terms of what his success looks like. It's not the success I want as a fan. So I get it for you guys. And I don't agree that at that college, at UK, that's probably not the right path to take. And he's had both in the past. He's had team success and individual. But like we talked about, the game's changed.
But that's, just looking at the man's career, what has he hung his hat on? Hey, I'm going to get you to the next level. I'm gonna get you to the NBA.
And you can tell kids that, and eventually the wins will come along.
And
that's what's happened to him. And it's now it's kind of not what, like we talk about Kentucky fans about how we're never satisfied with anything, no matter what it is. And as a fan, you should be that way. Hell, I'm that way with everything. But here's the thing. We bitched and complained about Cal only getting one and dones every year. How many one and dones are on this team? One. Case and Wallace. We're not getting those as often as we were. So we're not getting the top.
So wait,
people.
Are Kentucky fans?
And
are you
now,
saying Kentucky fans are not as smart as John Calipari because he went to the transfer portal like everybody begged him to?
And now he's going and getting the transfer portal. He's getting guys with experience. He's getting these guys that have been in the college basketball world for 2, 3, and 4 years, and it's not working. We've had the most not satisfying success the last 2 years.
On January 17th, you have one and done. How many did we have in August? That number was different. People thought about the freshmen. Okay, and last year, you had kids come back that were supposed to be one and dones.
Right? Collins, transfer.
He was supposed to be one and done. He was supposed to go. So he's still getting them. They're not turning out like they're supposed to.
Right. So is he getting the wrong people?
It could be, and that's what we were talking about. It's so hard to identify them now in recruiting because they're all great, and all 50 freshmen can't go to the draft. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to have some attrition through the college programs.
Yeah, and nowadays you're also looking at the college landscape as a whole. We're seeing more upperclassmen be taken in drafts now, simply because of the fact that the NBA is looking for more mature people, unless you have a certain skill set, like Banchero, certain skill set, Chet Holmgren, certain skill set. But you're looking at guys like the last couple of Player of the Years. Sheboy wasn't projected a draft pick. Homeboy from Iowa, 2 times in a row, not playing in the league right now. You see what I'm saying? Like the good college players, Luka Garza, those college players who are dominating, like Drew Timme. Is Drew Timme going to be an NBA player? Probably not.
I don't think so.
I mean,
Baycott.
he'll get his chance for sure. I mean, but I don't see it happening. But he's a player of the year candidate. You see what I'm saying? Like the college game is different. And I don't know, there's no balance for it. There's no answer. We can argue about it all the time. We can say, Cal's doing it wrong, Cal's doing this wrong, but he's doing what everybody else is doing. It's just not working out for him right now. You have to do what you're forced to do. You're forced to go out to the transfer portal because there's so many kids out there. You're going to get kids transfer from your school every year. You can't keep them. There's nothing you can do about it. Every school deals with it. Duke deals with it. Kansas deals with it. It's just getting the right people and the right group of people together. That's how you get success. Right now, it's brand new. Cal hasn't figured it out yet. Do I think you can figure it out? Yeah, absolutely. But you can see with this new recruiting class that he might be going away from that transfer portal ordeal, and now he's going back to getting the dudes, because I think a lot of times these coaches are going through the transfer portal and recruiting those guys so hard they're leaving the high school kids out to dry a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a simple answer to that question, Weaver. It's the system. There is no system here. He's never had one. The dribble drive, period. That's what it is. But his assistant coaches ran it. John Robick ran it. He didn't. The reason they leave here and go be all-stars is because they're playing as groups of players with the same goal in mind. Like they run plays, they run sets. They have a scheme offensively. It's like an offensive coordinator. They have one of those. We don't. That's the reason why they go out there and score, 25 points a game. Your Keon Brooks is dominating at Washington, Bryce Hopkins in freaking Providence. Cameron Fletcher, y'all remember that guy? Went to Florida State. He's hurt right now, but he was having a decent time down there. He was scoring games where he had 20 plus points. That's going to happen. It happens everywhere else too. It's not just here. Now we notice it more because we're freaking crazy about college basketball.
How does he fix it? How does Cal keep doing what he's doing and make everybody happy?
Johnny Juzang's another one. I don't know. There's not an answer.
You can't make Kentucky.
Nobody has it figured out. Nobody does.
That's the problem.
Nobody has it figured out yet.
John Calipari has like 2 million people or however many Kentucky fans there are there telling him what he needs to be doing whenever he's the one with the national championship and all those Final Fours. Kentucky people, we are just I don't know. I'm tired about talking about it. I mean, it's just like we're bad. Deal with it. Let them see what they can do. I'm just tired of talking about it. I mean, there's nothing. The horse is dead. Yeah. We can't fire him because we can't pay him. We already found out Mitch Barnhart's tight ass. So
and won't sell beer at football games.
Exactly. So
dude,
I mean,
we're not happy about that either.
If he gets bought out, it's like $40 million.
It's a lot of money.
We are not paying that.
No way.
So we gotta hope he either does Jay right or whatever. But
gets it figured out. But if he gets it figured out, he'd be the first one to do it.
I don't know. It's just I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of losing. It sucks.
It's not fun.
But the state of
losing
college
brings
athletics,
out the worst in everybody. You think about how Alabama football fans felt about this year. Think about it. That's how Kentucky fans feel when we lose a game. Right? Alabama lost a couple games. Yeah.
It's a little bit different for them, though.
I agree with that. It is different. Making adjustments is one thing, dude. I think just
the guys that made the adjustments aren't there anymore, and he can't adjust on his own.
His assistant coaches play a vital role in who he is as a coach. Kenny is a big one. Kenny was the post guy. John Robick was another one. I think you're looking at Antigua, who is a great recruiter. You've got Bruiser Flint, who's been at big schools. He's seen some things. I don't know. We're not in meeting rooms with those guys. We don't know what they do and what they don't do. We don't know what they talk about. We're not at their practices. We don't know. He might be teaching them schemes, and the guys just ain't doing it. Or not doing it well enough. The guy that makes the adjustments isn't doing well at Louisville. That's because he ain't got no players. Weaver, I think me, you, Coop, and Dave, and we can probably put Willow at the 5. We'd probably beat Louisville today. But yeah, obviously, dude knows what he's doing. I don't know. We can talk about this all day. I don't really want to, but I don't even know the score right now. Let's check it real quick. What's the score? Hey, we're not down by 10. Halftime,
Progress.
42-34, Georgia Bulldogs.
Hey, let's talk this coaching carousel in the NFL. I think that's the biggest
Let's change subjects.
biggest thing I'm thinking about right now. What's your preferred destination of open jobs?
Of open jobs currently, Las Vegas. They have an early draft pick. You have one of the best receivers in the league. You have a good defense. Max Crosby is a franchise guy. My problem, Vegas isn't open, is it?
No,
It
not
should
open.
be open. I'm thinking, in my head, I'm thinking of the quarterback
I
openings.
agree.
Josh McDaniels shouldn't be the coach there. They could definitely get an attractive coach. Let's think about the openings so far. We have Arizona.
Yep.
Help me out here, guys.
Houston.
Denver.
Denver's a big one. There's 5. Who are the other 2?
Carolina.
Yep. Matt Rule's in Nebraska. And New Orleans. No, New Orleans kept Dennis Allen.
Indianapolis? Indianapolis is probably going to come open too.
Yeah, Indianapolis.
They're interviewing. Yeah. So out of those, I gotta think it's with the current roster, it's Arizona for me.
Yeah, I think you're right too. I keep getting farther away from this microphone. Sorry, get relaxed. Arizona definitely has. They have a pretty decent draft pick as well. Top. I think it's top 15. I'm not 100% sure, but Kyler Murray is not a slouch of a quarterback. He had a terrible year, yes, but you got to look at the weapons he has around him. Is DeAndre Hopkins going to remain there? Is yet to be seen. Denver to me would be a attractive option. Denver has a culture problem. Denver has a culture problem. It's not Russ, it's the culture. Russ is a freaking Hall of Fame top quarterback.
Geno Smith just set a franchise record for passing yards. Mm-hmm. It is 100% a Russ problem.
But we might be sleeping on Geno Smith. Maybe Geno Smith is a future NFL Hall of Famer.
I think he's running out of time.
Okay. I've been out on Russ for the long haul.
I don't like him either. I never drafted him in fantasy leagues ever. I don't like him.
They sold their future to get him. You go to Denver, you have to find a way to win with Russ.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is one. He won the Eli Manning Super Bowl with a stacked defense, right? Mm-hmm. Eli's in the Hall of Fame because he's on Michael Strahan's shoulders. Like he didn't get there on his own, and that's the only thing that made Russ look good. Yeah. Was I think a good coach who just took a team that nobody gave a chance to the playoffs. They had an insane defense, and they've never been like a bottom 10 offensive line. They've always gave them time back there. They've had solid running production, even if they haven't had a big name back. Like they built a good program in Seattle. And I think the piece they were missing was Russ, but he didn't look that bad because everything else was good.
Yeah.
So let's go through, I think Indianapolis is pretty attractive as well.
Yeah, that'd be my pick.
I think you got a good core of young wide receivers. I think you're missing that veteran dude. You're missing that surefire number one. What's his name? Pittman? Is that who it was?
Yeah, Michael Pittman.
Pittman is supposed to be the guy. He hasn't been the guy. Is he going to be the guy with a quarterback other than Matt Ryan and Sam Ehlinger and Nick Foles? Those guys aren't getting it done. I think they go quarterback in the draft. Will Levis has been rumored to be the guy there.
Did CJ Stroud ever declare?
Yes, he did today.
That's who they need to go get.
Yeah, if he makes it there. I don't know. What are they, 5'7"?
It's Bears, Texans, Cardinals, Colts. So I mean, Bears and the Cardinals shouldn't take quarterback. Texans
so
will take
CJ
one of the
Stroud will
two.
probably be in Indianapolis. That could change the look of them a little bit. Austin King
Well-
says the Chargers, but the Chargers aren't technically open yet. Should they be
They
open?
fired. They
Did they
fired
fire
the
Staley?
OC. They fired the OC,
So no.
and I think it makes sense to fire
Does
him.
Brady have anything to do with Peyton? Weaver says. We've been talking about this for a while. We thought the plan all along. We talked about Indy being the biggest one. Coop, I'm crediting Coop on this one. Which it doesn't make a lot of sense now, but a lot of shit can happen. The plan was that Peyton and Tom Brady were going to end up in Miami. Now that looks a little different. I think, they're going to give Mike McDaniel probably another year or two. He'd done a pretty good job for being a first-year head coach. Tua had all the health problems. I think, getting him back, they went publicly and saying that, they're counting on him to be the starting quarterback next year, which kind of eliminates a lot of things. They just fired a head coach last year, and that got him into some trouble. So, Indianapolis is probably going to be my pick. Yeah, coaching the QB in Indianapolis can be good. They got a top-tier running back if he's healthy, a good, solid offensive line, some young receivers. They might need another veteran, another guy. Will Grier, greatest of all time. Obi-Wan, I love it, dude. Defensively, I think the Colts. I know last year had a really solid defense.
Shaq Leonard, or he changed his name. What is it now?
Shaquille
Leonard. Yeah, it was Darius, but he was hurt a lot this season, and he's one of those guys that when he's out in the middle of that defense, like it makes a huge difference. Led the NFL in tackles last year, I'm pretty sure, and then missed multiple games this year. So I still think they're a solid defense. I'd like to see them ship DeForest Buckner, D-line, to Chicago, along with their number 4 pick and a future first rounder for that number 1, and take Young. I'd like to see them go from 4 to 1. And I like that both ways. They get the best quarterback in the draft because, like you said, they may be the best situation anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a weak division. Like, they could easily be a playoff team next year with him. And Chicago can still get one of those D linemen at 4 because there's going to be 2 quarterbacks go.
Yeah.
So they get one of the guys.
They're getting Anderson or homeboy from Georgia, one or the other.
Yep, Anderson or Carter. They get DeForest Buckner on the D-line as well to bolster that. And then they get a future first-round pick. Like, to me, that I would love. That's the one trade going into this draft that I want to see happen.
That makes a lot of sense. Covering the draft in the future is going to be kind of fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be, covering the draft is going to be, because there's going to be a lot going on. There's free agency trades happening throughout the, that time leading up to it. You have trades like the AJ Brown trade happening on draft night. Right? I'm pretty sure that happened on draft night. Like, they just kind of broke it like it was nothing. Traded Armstead. That's a good point. But we think about the coaches who don't currently have jobs. Who are some of the guys, or maybe coordinators of some sort, who you can see getting that Indy job and making a big splash, similar to what a Brian Daboll's doing right now in New York, getting a lot of praise for what he's done there, from what seems like a lot of people, a mediocre quarterback.
Yeah. The one that I still think is always, he must just interview terribly, is Romeo Cornell.
Yeah.
Like he's been running.
He interviews for everything. I think he might be the minority that everybody interviews just to satisfy the minority rule.
Dude. Why is he? I don't understand. I know we're not in those rooms, but I don't understand.
He interviews in every single head coaching search there is. I'm serious. I think he's that minority that they have. I think they have to interview 2 minorities per job opening, and I think he's never got a job, so they always interview him. They know he'll come and interview. They can check a box, which is
second
shitty.
one I think is honestly Kellen Moore.
Really?
I think Dallas has had back-to-back good offensive years, and they've been held back by Mike McCarthy. I truly believe that. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think they've done it with a jigsaw puzzle at offensive line. They're not healthy, and they've got all pros. Zach Martin's great. I get it. But that game that we just had the other night, they moved their right tackle or their right guard to tackle in the middle of the game because of an injury. Like they had Jason Peters at 41 years old starting at tackle. Like they've had to piece some stuff together.
It reminds me of that old Fairview game when everybody quit on me and I had to play every position on the offensive line at least once.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's one of the coordinators because teams are going more offense.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coordinators this year that really screwed the pooch on offense.
They're going offensive coordinator and getting good defensive players. Not really focusing on schemes on defensive side. They're letting the guys just ball out and rush the passer. You see guys, stacking up their pass rush. Every team's got 2 pass rush guys now. Every team does. Just one on each side, let them go. And that's kind of where they're making their money in the NFL now is they're rushing the passer because you look at teams like Tampa, who Obi-Wan says they should have dropped Todd Bowles already. We agree with you there. I think Byron Leftwich could probably be a good offensive guy moving into a spot where Todd Bowles is currently. I think Leftwich and Brady have a good relationship. Hell, they won a Super Bowl together. There's obviously something there. But, having those defensive guys rush the passer, while putting all your marbles in on an offensive scheme is where the NFL is headed. And it's kind of taken over, honestly. You're looking at all these offensive coordinators who are getting interviews every single year. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. Nathaniel Hackett, obviously, at Denver did not work out. But guys like Brian Daboll have. Mike McCarthy, not Mike McCarthy, but Mike McDaniel has, for the most part.
Does that team – what's that team look like with Flores this year? What do you think they are?
The Dolphins? I'd say probably pretty much the same. I think if Tua stays healthy, they're better. They're a better team. They might win a playoff game
with either coach. But do you think if Flores was still there, they go 9-8 this year?
They went on an 8-game winning streak last year. I think it's possible, yeah, if not better.
I think their defense would have been a lot better, which that's what you need in that league. I mean, they gave the Bills a game because their defense
it's hard
showed up.
It's just hard to mess up an offense when you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You can't mess that up hardly if you have any offensive mind whatsoever. And I'm saying that coming from a guy that in high school we threw like 7 passes my entire career there. We ran the ball, but looking and watching football for all these years, it's pretty evident on what you need to do. Those guys are obviously smarter than we are. They know how to get schemes down, but it's pretty easy to call plays when you got those 2 guys out there to throw the ball to.
Yeah, I do think Flores will get a shot at least moving back to a coordinator position this offseason because he's a linebacker coach right now, I believe. Just a defensive assistant. So I think he'll be a coordinator for next year.
What about the Texans?
Speaking of the Dolphins, let me
go ahead. We'll
hit
talk
a quick
about
Dolphins thing. I think Lamar's done in Baltimore. It seems like more and more things coming out.
That would be awesome.
Be there.
That would be awesome
Miami's
for me.
the spot.
Even if Tua's still there?
I don't know that Tua, man. I think you're not asking when's he going to be healthy. I think you're asking, is he ever going to be healthy at this point? And if you can go get Lamar, yeah, I'm not going to pass on Lamar Jackson because I may have Tua.
What if
I have Tua?
What if there's a vacancy in Tampa Bay and you throw Lamar?
I think Miami's better.
I know he's better, but that might not be an option. You're looking at Lamar, maybe probably going to want to go back home in Florida, probably suiting up. I think Lamar would be a badass in a Buccaneers uniform. That's just me. Also, the Texans are open. They got to do something. Either make them do something or move the team. Bring the team to take them to Montana. Let's give Billings, Montana, an NFL team, and let's just roll with it because that's pretty much what it is. It's a wasted NFL team. Put it in a city that cares. Put a team back in St. Louis.
This was a playoff team like 3 years ago.
Put a team in Oklahoma. Put a team in Alabama. Something. Get them out of Houston.
They're not moving the Texans.
No.
They got to do something with the Texans or just shut them down because they're a waste. They're a waste of a team.
Outside of like looking up stats, watching highlights, I did not see a real-time snap of Houston football this year.
You won't.
Like, I don't have a lot to say because haven't seen the team that much. I don't know them that well. I know Cooks wants out. He's not there for a rebuild.
I can probably name you 3 players. Cooks, Damian Pierce, Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Who else is on the team?
Defensively, they drafted Jalen Petrie, right? Isn't he playing safety there?
I mean, we watch a lot of football. We talk a lot about football, and we're talking about an actual NFL team who seems to be like ghosted on all platforms everywhere. You don't know anything about the Texans unless you're a Texans fan.
Well, yeah, think about what happened to them.
Those 5 people are asleep right now.
Their star quarterback got caught sexually assaulting women. And then they decided, yeah.
Rex Burkhead's on the team. I like Rex Burkhead.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, the franchise.
You're looking it up right now, aren't you, Coop?
I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh, you're good. I really don't.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, we're about to wrap it up.
You let us off with a teaser.
About what?
About Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I don't know the specifics, but he did say on the Pat McAfee show, he's on there every Tuesday. He did not rule out playing for a different team in 2023, which intrigues me.
Aaron Rodgers has played his last snap for the Packers.
I would be okay with seeing that. I think let's open this can of worms. What team could you see to go after Aaron Rodgers?
He's following in his predecessor's footsteps, man. He's going to New York.
Go be a Jets quarterback next year?
He's going to be Brett Favre 2.0.
I'd be cool with that.
Rodgers goes to Tampa and wins the Super Bowl next year. Brady couldn't do it, and he does. Who's the GOAT? Wouldn't that be some storybook stuff?
Obi-Wan says Miami for Rodgers. Or the Jets. I'd like to see him on the Jets. I want to see the Jets do good. Jets have a likable team. They have a likable coach. They're in a big market.
What about Vegas?
Vegas would be awesome for him.
Devontae Adams.
I just don't know if him and McDaniel is gonna jive.
I can't wrap my head around Aaron Rodgers anywhere else. I don't have any legitimate ideas.
It's kind of like when Tom Brady's saying, I'm leaving New England, and you didn't know where he was going to land. Yeah. And then you see him in the Rams. Rams would be a good choice. It's a long shot.
Think
it's a good idea, Obi-Wan. I like that idea.
I think he's gone because of the way he made one of his statements today. And something came up with the MVP race. And his comment was, I still think I could win an MVP in the right situation. And to me, that just screams that he doesn't think that can happen in Green Bay. And he's also a person that seems to care quite a bit about having himself an MVP trophy. So he's gonna go. He's gonna go chase.
He's not gonna win a Super Bowl trophy. So
no.
With the right team, he could.
Wide receiver rooms and offensive lines. That's what's going to bring in Rodgers. Give him time, give him weapons, so he can go put his numbers up.
So let's talk about the teams that have those options. Number one is probably the Jets with the young talent they have. Mm-hmm. Wide receiver rooms, offensive line, Indianapolis. Young wide receiver room. Not The Texans. That's a long shot. What about
Legitimately, Vegas.
Vegas is a good one, obviously. What about a team like the Saints? Michael Thomas comes back healthy. Got Olave. Got Jarvis Landry. Got Alvin Kamara.
No, that coach.
I don't know.
I think anywhere you think about putting him is kind of exciting, right?
I'll take him.
You even talk about Houston.
Send him to Washington. Let him be Washington's. Washington's a good fit, dude.
Jahan Dotson, Diami Brown.
2 stout running backs.
Speedsters. Got some
McLaurin.
speed.
Good defense. Obi-Wan says he can only see Rodgers with the right coach and weather. I could see him being tired of playing in the cold all the time, wanting to maybe play south a little bit. Vegas makes a lot of sense. Any of the Florida teams makes sense. Or somebody with a dome. Maybe the Falcons go after somebody.
Maybe he goes home. Maybe he tries to go to San Fran.
Yeah. San Francisco going to give up Jordan Love and Brock Purdy.
Trey Lance straight up.
Yep.
1-on-1, 1v1, straight up, trade him.
I'd do it.
Oh, if I'm San Francisco, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. I'm not a Trey Lance believer.
And you got Brock Purdy running the show in 2 years.
And it has proven he can do that already. I like it,
Detroit? He stays in division.
That'd be awesome.
I just don't see Dan Campbell doing that to Goff.
Yeah, I think he's too nice of a guy. He's a loyal guy. He's going to keep with Goff until his higher-ups in the organization say otherwise. I do think that. What's up, Justin?
I'm not a Goff guy.
Well, thanks for tuning in about an hour in. It's okay. We're good. We're not about to hang it up or anything.
Oh.
You missed all the conversation.
So let's leave it hanging. What's your biggest offseason question? What do you want to see trickle out NBA wise?
NBA wise?
No, I'm sorry. Wrong sport. The one with
I want to hear it. I want to hear let's get these NBA takes going.
NBA takes, Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero. MVP.
Bold statement. Jokic.
MVP, Nikola Jokic. Defensive Player of the Year.
I think we could have an international first team All NBA.
Okay.
I think you could have 5.
No Americans on the list for first team?
Yep.
I can see that.
I don't know who the 5th one is, but they're going to pull it off.
Here was what would be really cool. If we just took the NBA players during All-Star Weekend, pick an American squad and a world squad.
They do that for the young kids.
Yeah, but do it for current NBA players. Play a game and make it mean something somehow. Give them like a $5 million bonus or something if they win.
All right, I got 2 options for you guys on All NBA team. See what you think. Giannis.
He's a lock. He's a lock.
Jokic, who's from one of the
Croatia.
Yeah.
I think.
Luka Doncic.
He might be from
Joel Embiid. And then I think potentially sneak in a Rudy Gobert, who's also from France.
He's not making it.
What about the
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's from Canada?
Yeah.
That's a good pick. People sleeping on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man. He's quietly becoming a top 15 player in the NBA. It's because he plays on the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Averaging 30 a game.
He's a stud.
It's going to be really hard for that 5th one to be a international player, but I think those top 4 totally realistic.
Oh, that's probably going to happen. I could see that in a heartbeat. Oh, anyway, NFL hot takes. I believe next year, I'm going to have to think about this for a minute. There's a couple of them that I could see happening. Number one, I could see the Browns being tremendously better. I could see the Deshaun Watson thing kind of being forgotten about. And him coming back after a full off season, a full non-distraction training session for the off season and training camp and all that good stuff. Coming back as a strong competitor again, like he was before he got in all the trouble. I think the Browns could be a playoff team. It's not much of a hot take, but I think that is something that's very feasible. I look for the Jaguars. We just talked about this. It's going to be Trey Lance. We don't know who it's going to be. It might be Aaron Rodgers. We don't know. We don't think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, though. Other one that I can see happening for the NFL, and it all kind of depends. It kind of depends on things like where Aaron Rodgers falls. But I'm telling y'all, the Jacksonville Jaguars, conference champions. Not gonna say Super Bowl, postseason. Yeah, they're gonna make it the conference championship, and they're gonna win it.
I'll be short and sweet. Chicago Bears going from number 1 pick to King in the North. They're winning the NFC North next season.
I don't think it's out of the question. I think that's very logical. Dave, what you got?
Vegas.
We got Jags in the Super Bowl and the Bears winning the North.
Vegas trades Derek Carr and McDaniels for Sean Payton.
Oh, I like it.
Are they going to trade Derek Carr? Or are they just going to release him?
Trade him.
That's going to happen soon.
This is my hot take. It's my hot take. This is what I'm going with.
That's pretty hot. That's sizzling, Dave. That's a sizzling take. But yeah, if you guys got any hot takes, comment them down on the video if you're watching it. If you're watching on Facebook later on, comment down if you made it this far. If you're on YouTube, do the same thing. If you're on YouTube, go subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'd appreciate it a lot. So we want to say thank you for everybody that's tuned in today. We're about to hop off here and go to sleep. For the most part, I'm going to finish watching this Cats game. Hopefully it's not that bad. I ain't watched the score in a while.
It's tied.
Ooh, so we're making a comeback. Okay. Yep. Oh, there's plenty of time. Plenty of time to screw it up or get better. Either one. We appreciate everybody's faith, patience, the ability to click on our video when you see our beautiful faces. Listen to us for a few minutes. Interact with us, make comments. That makes the show go by a little bit better. As always, we love you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps us out. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. We need like 6 more. There was way more than 6 people watching this. I can see who all was watching it. Okay. I can see the little number. It's been like 5+ the whole day. If you're on there, subscribe. We appreciate it. Other than that, go Cats.